So there I was, stuck in a fish processing plant on the middle of a deserted island. The only thing keeping me company were the mounds of dead fish and the salted scent of the ocean. The reason I was there? A contract commissioned by a dirty cop who silences the horn for all of my other misdeeds. This cop wanted me to hack into an old satellite dish system, along with a few smaller, let's call them Wi-Fi boxes. I had at my disposal guns, explosives, planks of wood, a sledgehammer, and most importantly, my wits. I thought to myself, bah, it's just a few presses of a button, what could possibly go wrong? I set up my route quickly and cleanly. I even illustrated for myself some, let's call them doodles, just for whomever may come back tomorrow. My route was carved with a vast array of tools. I had full creative freedom to find my way. A few busted holes here, a couple expanded entrances there, and presto, we were in business. I decided to start the old administrative building. Stole a few projectors along the way, maybe some garden shears too, whatever I could get these emits on. I prayed to whomever was listening, and thusly granted me the ability to save scum. Then I began. Hacking into old things is sort of my specialty. It only took me about maybe 5 seconds or so, but that was when I realized I forgot to read the rest of the email the cop sent me. Little did I know there was going to be a machine gun carrying air-to-surface missile launching attack chopper just waiting to jump at the earliest sign of tampering. Suffice to say, my job just got a whole lot more interesting. I had no other choice but to break for it. I ran as fast as humanly possible. Believe me, I only got one speed. Tried my best to bob and weave around the hail of gunfire. It was intense. But I ran. And I kept running. I never stopped running. You remember those doodles? They just damn well saved my skin multiple times. You know how dense this thick skull gets. Finally, I made it to the even older laboratory/warehouse at the other end of the island. This damn chopper just didn't know when to quit. Concern for the owners was not a skill possessed by it. Blowing holes in roofs, firing missiles at expensive chemical engineering equipment, the works. I got that second antenna with a few hiccups and continued back to the center of the island. During the planning phases of this gig, I noticed a weak wall in the foundation near the stairs, just yearning to be caved in. One explosive charge is all it took, and like magic, I had an alternative route. Cut right through that hole in the wall. I thought I was scot-free too, until I looked up at the top of my HUD, don't ask me what that is, and exclaimed, "Oh, damn!" I was missing 2 more objectives, because you see, I went in there expecting a nice and easy hacking job of just a couple old dirty dishes, but no, that cop thought it funny to get me with a mandatory side objective. That's oxymoronic, and she wouldn't hear the end of it once I got back. Turns out, I had 2 more things to attend to, those Wi-Fi boxes I mentioned earlier. I activated my eagle vision and decided upon the box right next to my escape boat, and then, stupidly, the second box all the way on the other end of the island, on the outside door of the attached greenhouse. Dodging gunfire again, and foolishly leaping into the water where it just about bit the dust. If it wasn't for me grabbing a trusty wet floor sign to block the hail of 762, I would have never made it. Making my way to the greenhouse, I needed a quick entrance. I blew open a wall and in record time hacked that last box. Took a few shots here, took a few more there, dodged a couple missiles, and like no big deal, I hopped in my boat and left that chopper in the maritime dust. But, how did it not catch up with me, you may ask? Well, it's a fast boat, I guess. The ability to devise a plan of action and carve literal holes in mountains to help succeed in your goal is at the core of Teardown. You begin as a simple deconstruction agent, the guy responsible for wrecking buildings, I guess, but very quickly, crime becomes your #1 source of income for both you and your mom. Every mission sees your safe house, which doubles as your home, evolving little by little. Old project cars become fully drivable later on. Your rundown, dingy railcar hub becomes, quite frankly, just super comfy, with fully remodeled entryways, living quarters, and even a massive closet. Mission complexity becomes more and more interesting too, but the gist is find what needs to be stolen or destroyed, and then plot the most optimal route to enact it. Because almost always, once the alarm rings, you have exactly 1 minute to test your strategy. From stealing confidential documents to committing unironic tax fraud, to being a double agent for a feud between multi-billionaire businessmen, Teardown is really, really cool. Of course, the thing that drove me to the game was the entirely destructible environments. Tuxedo Labs clearly have been working very, very long on the physics system to keep it as well optimized as possible. You can punch holes in walls, you can blow in walls, you can blow up walls, you can run a shrimp boat head on into a functional drawbridge, and honestly, given the sheer complexity of the physics simulation happening all in real time, it is a miracle that this doesn't detonate my poor PC. Don't get me wrong, of course this game is heavy, but only when it should be, and that is a really important distinction. When I'm just casually running around doing nothing, the frame rate is rock solid and feels faster than 60, thanks to its actually pretty smart motion blur that Tuxedo implemented. It's only when something huge happens, like big explosions or large operable vessels collide with surfaces. The choppiness that usually comes with low frame rate just more feels like you're in slow motion, which is evidently intentional. It's poor frame rate born not from developer neglection, but from the sheer mountains of workload from the thousands of chunks being created and simulated physically all at once. On first glance, I figured Teardown was going to be pretty similar to Besieged, something I've already put a considerable amount of time into, in that you're given some levels and it's up to your wits and creativity to overcome them, nothing more beyond that. But I was surprised. There's a distinct vibration that comes from Teardown which makes it even more enjoyable beyond just happily exploding things. I feel some stakes in these missions. If I don't do them, then who's going to take care of my character's mom? Or do I want to just give up and let my ever-improving housing situation go to waste? Before every job, you access your computer and read emails from reoccurring clients, not faceless nobodies with names picked from a random number generator. They comment on the work that you've done, talk to you in more or less informal ways. Not every message is a mission either, and that really lets me get into character. Immersion is an undeniable trait Teardown possesses. This game is really good with keeping me in the moment, and easily it's because I have to do absolutely everything. I need to case the area, note the kinds of alarms I have to avoid setting off, use every single one of my tools available to make it to a satisfying conclusion. The ability to drive absolutely everything in the game, and most importantly, the 1-minute timer. It seems so simple, but in reality, it is what makes the planning phase so engaging. What most other games do whenever there's a timed section, you're just usually allotted 40 seconds too much to escape from whatever danger you're in. But in Teardown, it's do or die. I am consistently finding myself with a meager 5 seconds or less left, and it is exhilarating. But what's even more fun is when you accidentally set off the alarm, and while usually you would just do a quick load and go about your day, because you are nowhere near ready to begin, but sometimes your plan is mere seconds away from being complete, and you just decide to make a break for your objectives. If there's a wall in your way, you know that you don't have time to go around it, you have to go through. Right now. You grab your hammer and spam left click as fast as possible to get to the other side. It is rare for me to feel a tangible rush of adrenaline in games. My eyes constantly dart from center to top of the screen to check how much time I have left. Making it with less than a second left provides just a feeling unmatched. You're given a spray can at the very beginning of the game, which is perfect for drawing dicks on the wall, but also charting the exact path you're going to take from start to end. I mean, it's totally unnecessary, but I can't get enough of it. It's like icing on the proverbial video game cake. After the holes have been made and the path has been found, you scribble words of encouragement throughout your route along with large paint patches distinguishing dangers to avoid, like open glass ceilings and incorrect test paths that were made prior. But something else I wholeheartedly appreciate is the encouragement of saves coming. Before you even activate your first alarm, the game will mandatorily make you quick save before you proceed. Saves coming in a game so trial and error as Teardown is a godsend. If you're like me, you like to bust holes in literally everything to make the absolute easiest path possible, which also means that some of these missions take you upwards of 30 to 40 minutes just to plan them. Having that encouraged safety net is really nice, made even nicer when you realize you can restart the entire level either by accident or just because, and you still find that you can load that most recent save state. Of course, I have some suggestions / gripes, obviously, but they're mostly small. As I noted in that story way in the beginning, you can steal things to get cash after the mission closes. This is a great feature that is also completely optional. Tuxedo even made the spawn of items randomized with each map for added variety. My issue, however, stems from how you utilize your loot. You use money to upgrade your tools and that's it. The creativity of Teardown ends directly after creative pathfinding. You cannot personalize your tools nor your safe house, which is really unfortunate. You aren't able to change even the colors of your tools, something I know would be simple since, remember, we're working with voxels here, not completely sculpted UVs. But to the safe house personalization. There is a sandbox mode where you can spawn various items in, like chairs, beds, or even a fully functional yacht. If campaign could allow the use of the computer, the same one you accept missions, upgrade weapons, all that, to purchase furniture, paint colors, cars, whatever, and then decorate your safe house with them, I think it would be wonderful for anyone, not just a more creative type of player. This will, without doubt, require some tweaking in the game's economics or warrant the addition of another currency, just for personalization. I do see a flaw in my argument. Adding in a personalization feature would nullify how your campaign progression is illustrated in the condition of your safe house. So instead of trashing that wonderful example of progressive environmental storytelling, I would like to be able to, at the very least, change the color of my floors or walls, something like that. Or, to make a great compromise between the two, allow the player to purchase different articles of furniture and then have them implemented in set locations that evolve as campaign time goes on. Maybe I would like to keep my dirty old box TV the entire campaign, or buy the flat screen extremely early. Having options would really enhance the home feel that the safe house brings. But now to level completion. Jobs with primary and secondary objectives distinguish each other by gold and gray HUD elements, respectively. After completion of your primary objectives, you are allowed to escape. Alternatively, you can go the extra mile and somehow complete the gray optional objectives too, within the allotted minute-long action time. The driving force for the player is conduct the crime as little time as necessary, accomplishing the most objectives as possible. It's an antiquated motivator, which ultimately is fine, but again, to enhance my lack of personalization suggestion, with your only motivator being beat the clock, I don't feel compelled to complete the side objectives, especially since, frankly, my skills are insufficient enough to the point where I'm struggling to even complete the primary objectives in the allotted time alone. If there was a monetary gain tied into the accomplishment of side goals, I could easily spend another 20 minutes devising my master plan even further to include them. But, like I said before, if there would be a feature update to include personalization that required money, I would prefer them tied to a separate currency to not only keep the balance of weapon modification pricing as it is now, but also create an opportunity for establishing rewards upon optional objective completion. That's all I really felt was necessary. Implement customization for the tools in Safe House, even if they only go as far as color swaps. And also, consider creating more opportunity for player incentivization to increase their skill level by completing side objectives. I saw in the Steam comments section numerous times that the levels are needlessly barren, in that there are absolutely no NPCs nor guards to consider in your planning and acting phase. For one, that is false by way of some undisclosed mechanics that come in during Act 2, but also, I think the game would suffer to have that element anyway. Yes, it is strange that no one, not even cameras, are there on site to deter criminals such as you and me, but honestly, that's not a flaw. I really enjoy having the ability to go everywhere in the play area. Mind you, it's really not that big anyway, without worrying about disrupting guards or cameras. It's all just filler to keep you from considering the perfect heist route. I mean, remember, you have, most of the time, 1 minute to do everything you planned for. And that's where the fun is, not dispatching artificial playtime lengtheners. In fact, that's why those other games with timed segments give you so much extra clock, because it's compensating for lesser skilled players. Now obviously don't take this out of context, with Elden Ring out, making an unnecessary and somewhat silly accessibility argument is not why I'm here. But also, let's be real. Voxel-styled people look pretty damn stupid. But that's really about it. Thank you for watching. Spring semester is finally out for me, and after overcoming some extreme laziness, I really wanted to get to making some videos again. You can buy Teardown on Steam for a super solid $20. Remember, it's more than just a good sandbox game. There are some pretty engaging offhanded narrative elements built in, which could have easily warranted the price to be bumped up to $30. But it's not, and that's always a consumer win. Side note, I'm right on the cusp of having 90 subs, which is pretty cool. If you like what I do, I implore you to give my other things a gander. It's a good time. I'm just Sheen. Don't get sunburnt. My throat.